Today I'm here to show you my creamy garlic skillet chicken. It's one of those recipes that's easy to throw together during the week. Truthfully, it's made with minimal ingredients, just some cream, milk, and a few seasonings and chicken. So let's get started. The house is actually pretty calm tonight because 2 of my 3 children are at basketball practice and my daughter and I are left alone. And so that makes the kitchen really quiet, which is really nice to cook in. She loves to just hang out in her room and entertain herself. Sometimes I wonder what she's up there doing, but I'm pretty sure she has a fantastic imagination. So as long as she's entertained, I'm happy. She's been actually asking me to make this recipe for a minute, and I haven't been putting it off because it's difficult. I just really haven't thought about it. So tonight I was going to put together a quick dinner, and this one fit the bill. So the first thing I like to do is to get out all of my ingredients and to get them on the counter for easy access. I'm still trying to get all of that water in, you guys, just trying to be healthy, and I need the water. Something else I like to do is utilize my sink a lot when opening meat packages or seasoning meat because I'm able to contain anything that would contaminate my countertops or my kitchens. And so you saw me there opening the bag of frozen chicken in the sink, then I'm able to rinse that out. And I'm just going to transfer that to my cutting board so that I can season it properly. But sometimes I actually lay it out in a clean sink to season it as well. That way I don't have to dirty up another cutting board. But as you can see, tonight is not the case. There's a few dishes in there, so I decided to just go ahead and use my cutting board. And I'm not using a wood cutting board here because I'm dealing with raw meat. I like to use my plastic cutting board, and I also like to put this one in the dishwasher so I don't have to worry about cross-contamination of anything or getting anybody sick. So once I have all of my chicken laid out, and I do try to make it all fit, that way I only have to do this seasoning thing once. I like to pour the seasonings in my hand and measure them out that way, and then use my other hand to do the actual seasoning, just in case I need to touch the raw chicken or whatever meat I'm working with. I want to make sure I have a clean hand to do that and to touch the seasonings as well. The seasoning for this chicken is very simple. It is garlic powder, it's onion powder, and then you see me using that jar. That is actually Tony's seasoning, and it is the most delicious Cajun seasoning. If you're from Louisiana, you know. It can be quite salty, so you have to be careful with it, and it has lots of different spices in there, but I love to use it. So I seasoned one side of the chicken, and then I'm just going to turn it over and season the other side. A different way you can do this is to season one side of the chicken and then place that side that has been seasoned face down in your pan, and then you can season the second side while it's actually cooking. But tonight I didn't feel like doing that, but there are times when that is exactly what I do. So at the beginning of the video, you might have missed me putting into my cast iron skillet some avocado oil, which is my favorite type of oil to use, and the butter. And I was letting that skillet get nice and hot and letting that butter melt and the oil just combine. And now I'm placing my seasoned chicken breast tenderloins. That's what I'm using today, was the chicken breasts that are already cut up into tenderloins. And I'm placing them in a single layer in that cast iron skillet. And since we're here, I thought I'd show you what else I'm making to go with my creamy garlic skillet chicken. And my son had a fundraiser for a trip that we are going on in a few months. And so the meat company had pre-wrapped jalapeno peppers stuffed with cream cheese and seasoned, and it was frozen. So I said, you know what, this would be the perfect night to just put these in my air fryer and let them go while I am working on the chicken. And you guys, they were frozen together so hard, and I'm over here whacking them against the countertop. But you know, you have to do what you got to do. Side note, I love my air fryer. It is something that I can just put things in and walk away, and it doesn't heat up the whole house, and it's just perfect. So I've got 2 elements going at one time, of course, because I'm making dinner, but I think it's very important to point out for people who get intimidated when they start cooking, they get afraid to cook multiple things at one time. They're afraid that they're going to burn it or they're going to mess it up. But you really need to learn to multitask in order to get a meal on the table in a decent amount of time for your family. You can do this lots of different ways. You can think about the items that you're cooking and how long they will take and decide from there which item you're going to start first. Obviously, it would be the one that takes the longest. And then maybe don't cook two things at the same time that are going to require all of your attention, because you've got to be able to juggle those two items. So you learn the more you cook to make decisions like that, and it just really becomes second nature. And I want to point out something else too, because I hear a lot of people say that they don't enjoy cooking, and I understand everybody's different, but I do. I love to cook. Now, there have been seasons of my life where it became more of a tedious chore because my schedule was crazy. I was working a full-time job, and although I'm still working now, it is different to work from home. But I was working all the time. I have multiple children. We're in all kinds of sports. I'm incredibly active in my church. So I understand an overworked mama or anyone who's the cook in the house, dad too. And I understand, like, some days it's the last thing you want to do is have to think about it. So a lot of times, to help you enjoy cooking, preparation is key. I like to cook in a pretty relaxed environment, and let's be honest, for a working mom with 3 kids involved in all those extracurricular activities, there is not a lot of calm. So on nights like tonight, I do take advantage of a very quiet kitchen. It's peaceful, and I'm able to enjoy what I'm doing. So in case you missed it, I had already turned this chicken over. Look at that beautiful color. And I'm not overly concerned with the chicken being completely cooked. I just want it to get a nice sear because we're going to put it back in our creamy sauce to finish off, and it will finish the rest of the cooking. So here I am putting that second batch of chicken into the skillet, and again in a single layer because we want everything to be touching that hot pan in order to get that beautiful color. A nice sear on your meat also seals in the juices and keeps things from drying out. And I'm checking on those bacon wrapped stuffed jalapeno peppers. I want to show you guys what they look like. Oh my word. And I have to tell you, they were amazing. They tasted wonderful. Here's a close-up of that chicken cooking in the pan. I like to let it get a really good crisp on one side. That is so gorgeous. And then I flip it over so that it can get that color on the second side. Again, I'm not overly concerned with cooking it through. This process right here is already going to cook the chicken the majority of the way, but again, it's going to sit in this creamy sauce that's going to finish the job for me. Once that is finished and I make sure that it has a beautiful color but that I haven't burnt any of it, I'm going to take it out on a plate, and in the same exact pan I am going to make this creamy garlic sauce. This is actually a great low-carb recipe. You could totally leave out the flour. I'm just going to make a little bit of a roux to make kind of thicken up the sauce, make a little bit of a creamy gravy, but that's actually optional. You can make this cream sauce without the flour and it would be even more low-carb for you. So I just sprinkled some of that in there because I have the leftover fat from the avocado oil and the butter, and I'm just going to let that get brown. I don't want it totally brown. I'm not making gravy. I'm just going to let it cook a little bit until the raw flour taste is cooked out. So it is actually going to get a little darker on me because I was busy doing something else, but that's okay. I added my heavy cream to the pot, and immediately it's going to start thickening up on you, so you need to be prepared. And I went ahead and added our milk. And this is one of those items that you do not walk away from. You kind of have to babysit it once you get to this point. The same way with gravy. You don't really want to go too far because it can burn on you so quickly. It can get super thick and just burn. So this is something that you're going to need to stand there for a minute. Make sure it's okay. Make sure the thickness is not, going too far. And see if you need to add more liquid. You really have to keep an eye on it. So I was adding a little bit more milk there, and it was to the point that I really liked it. I'm going to let it do just a little bit more cooking, and I'm going to season it up. And I totally did not mean to skip the part where I added the chicken back to the sauce, but you can see it here. I put all of that chicken back in there. I'm not concerned about it being on top of one another because we've already got that color, and I added Parmesan cheese to the sauce. I added black pepper. I added some onion and garlic powder. So I did all of that seasoning and then I added the chicken back. And of course, I tasted it to make sure that the seasonings are exactly what I want. You always have to taste your food as you're cooking. And this is where you want to make any of those adjustments. And I realized I needed more black pepper. Anytime you are making a white sauce of any kind, black pepper is your friend. It adds something that nothing else seems to be able to add. So do not skimp on the black pepper. I'm moving the chicken around, just making sure that it's covered in the sauce, because remember that sauce is going to do all of that residual cooking through of that chicken. So I just want to make sure that it's covered. And since we're here, I just like to share tips and tricks that I do. So I'm a big clean as you go person in the kitchen. That includes wiping down the stove. I know that some people would probably say, I clean, but I don't wipe down the stove until I'm finished. But I personally like just to keep it clean as I go. I wanted to show you those bacon wrapped jalapenos again, you guys. I was so excited. And now I'm placing dinner on the table. Now my husband and my 2 sons are not going to be here eating with us, but they will come in later. So I have their place set at the table. And in case you're wondering, did I do this for the video? The answer is no. I set the table every single night, and we're having salad, by the way. I set the table every single night for my family when we're eating, when we're home and not at a basketball game. It's something that is incredibly important to me. Look at that plate. I have the chicken, we have the bacon wrapped jalapenos, and a little bit of salad. And Ava and I are going to sit down and have a nice quiet dinner. And then when my husband and the boys get in, they can enjoy theirs. I'll be able to keep it warm for them, and then they can sit around the table. I cannot stress eating around the table and spending time with your kids as a family in this capacity enough. It truly makes all the difference.